Well, hello there. My name is Austin with Crest and Peak here. And this year, you're not going to find a tablet or an iPad or a new video game or something like that under our family Christmas tree, but you will find a rock climbing wall that I'm going to build, and we're going to stand up in the hallway right across from our daughter's room. For the girls to be able to climb on. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We even got like a blow up tumbling mat to go underneath it. So it's very late at night. It's only a couple of days away from Christmas, and we are out here to go get it done. So shout out to my wife for finding all this stuff. So she went with the holds from a company called Everett and Avery. It's a small business, so we love to support them. Comes with some basic instructions in here. The handholds, they come in a pack of 10, so we bought 3 of them to get 30. They come in various shapes, colors. Comes with the hardware. They've got like a backing nut that goes into the wood or whatever you're mounting it into. And then it came with 3/8, 16, inch and a quarter Allen cap screws. For myself, I'm using 3/4 inch plywood. Which let's talk about this for a second. Well, I'm using 3/4 inch plywood is what I picked up to go build our climbing wall out of. They recommend from the constructions here that you use a minimum of 3/4 inch plywood. Now a lot of different ways to skin a cat. You can go mount like runner boards and mount this to it, whatever. They even sell it as a kit that comes with panels. But I am just going with raw 3/4 inch plywood, and I'm gonna make my own here. We're gonna sand it down. Eventually we might go paint like a mural on it or do something fun like that. But for to start, since there's only a couple of days, I'm probably just gonna leave it raw. And for now, I'm just doing one sheet, so one 4x8 foot sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. And if it's a hit with the girls, I think we're gonna end up adding another sheet right next to it. And it would fill out a hallway pretty well. For the way our house is laid out, but this is just to kind of start, get something up there, and to be a good Christmas present. The holds are not necessarily the cheapest, but I will say they're some of the best looking you could find online. Sky's the limit, start your climb. Love it. Support small businesses, get out and do it. So the way we're gonna do this is I'm just gonna end up mounting this to the studs is my plan. Now you can figure out how you want to do the spacing. Like I said, I got 30 holds, but we actually just ordered a bunch of the backing nuts off of Amazon. Cheap, ordered them. They come in like packs of 20, so I picked up a couple of those. And what I'm actually going to do is hole spacing every 6 inches and just go make a grid out of this thing. So that way you can go and move the handholds around, and I want to put the backing nuts in it now. So that way, once this is mounted up to the studs in the house, I don't have to pull it back down and go add them later on. So as my kids grow, they get more reach, everything else, or it becomes too easy of a section, we can go change on it and make it unique. So I think that'll give us some cool versatility to it. At least that's the hope anyways. Now, as I mentioned, these are 1.25 inch fasteners that it comes through. So you got to think through the length of fastener and how you plan to go build your wall. The standoff in the holds is pretty consistently 1/2 inch, so that leaves you with 1 inch on the backside. Now 3/4 inch, I'm no math magician here, but I can tell you that that would leave me with 1/4 inch of bolt protruding past the back end of the sheet of the plywood, which is no bueno for what we were trying to do, because I plan on mounting it flush up against the sheetrock, so that way there's no standoff or gaps or anything like that. And we didn't do one of their pre-made kits. So what that means for me is you can either go run a nut down these and cut them all down, which that's 30 fasteners that I really want to do. So, you can get them from a hardware store, or I even bought more fasteners that are coming from Amazon too, I tried to get inch long, which would have been a hair short. 1.25 inch would be right at the max length, which I was a little concerned about if they'd stick out, just because I don't want them to punch holes in the sheetrock if you crank them down too much, which they would. But the inch ones wouldn't get here till after Christmas, so I went with 1.25 inch ones, which are on their way. And then I'm just going to put a lock washer under the head. These didn't come with them, but that'll give me still a good plenty thread protrusion into the backing nut. as well as not sticking out the backside, I hope. And they also come with little wood screws, and then each hold has a secondary, this one has the main bolt here, and then another hole right here that you can run a little wood screw in, which it comes with screws, which those lengths are fine, just so that way it doesn't spin once it's mounted on it, or back out or get loose or anything like that. So we've got our sheet of 3/4 ply here on the table. And basically, I'm just going to go grid this thing out. You could do it many different ways. You could go draw your lines, take a compass, I think is this one, not a protractor, a compass, and just go set it to 6 inches and mark it down. Don't just go measure 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. That'll give you what's called cumulative stack up error. So anytime you're off a little bit, we'll then compound onto the next one and the next one, and it'll look funky when it's all done. So I'm just going to lay it out and go 6, 12, 18, so on and so forth, all the way down, and add my measurements up that way, and make all my dimensions. And then I'm going to drill all the holes, 3/8 fasteners. So we're going to drill a ton of 3/8 holes in this thing and turn it into a giant piece of Swiss cheese. Hopefully not lose all the integrity out of it. Then we're going to go sand this thing down so that way the girls don't get any splinters on their mittens. And then we'll see. And then on Christmas Eve, Santa will come down the chimney, and that we don't have since we don't have a fireplace in this house. So come through the electric heat ducting, I guess. I don't know how he's going to break and enter our house. Maybe a chimney will magically appear. Some of the Christmas movies show it like that. And on Christmas Eve, he'll go stand this up in the hallway, run an impact, and hopefully not wake the girls up in the process. So we'll see how that goes. And then we'll see if we end up wrapping this or not, or how we do it. I haven't quite decided. I might just leave it up out here in the shop and do like a scavenger hunt present for them, where it tells them to go, hey, go look in mom and dad's bathroom, and then there's a note that says, hey, go check in baby sister's closet, and hey, go check upstairs in the playroom, hey, go check in the office, hey, go out to the car, hey, go into the garage, and there's the rock climbing wall, and then they can help me go stand it up. So I'm going to lay this thing out, pitter patter, let's get at her. Pop quiz, hot shot. If I've got a 4x8 sheet of 3/4 inch plywood and I drill it at 6 inch holes on center, how many holes am I going to have? 105. That's too many holes. I don't want to drill that many. It looks insane when you really go grid this thing out. I don't know why I didn't do that math until after I'd already laid it out. So, like any good DIY project, we're going to audible 10 minutes into it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go 6 inches from both ends, put one, and then a foot spacing gets you even from there. And the reason I did that, kind of happy accident worked out, is now when I butt a second sheet of this later on and I go add on to the wall, if I go 6 inches from that edge, that'll make it to where my holes are always a foot spacing, except for the true ends of the panel will have 6 inches to the end. And that's going to cut my holes down by a significant amount. Is it half? No, because I'm not truly going a foot. I don't know, it's really late and I don't want to do math. There's a very good chance that I screw this up and drill a hole where I'm not supposed to, and then I end up drilling the 105 holes and doing it that way. So let's just start drilling holes, I guess. Well, the holes are drilled. Like I said, you can see here I went 6 inches, then a foot, and a foot, which then left me with 6 inches. So if I butt another board on either end, I do 6 inches again. That'll leave me with still foot spacing between holes. Now I have the internal debate for about 10 minutes of if I want to go add, if I go every 6 inches, I mean, that is just, they're right on top of each other. Now in theory, instead of having like that reach, it would leave you with something like that, which seems a little bit more ideal than having like that. but that still seems doable, but I'm not a tiny human. So I don't know what makes the most sense, and I guess you'll have to decide whatever makes sense for you, but I I don't really want to sand it all down because I'm going to lose my layout, but it's like 11:30 at night, so I don't really want to go wake my wife up from the, 3 to hours that she's going to get to sleep before the newborn needs to be fed again. So I'm probably just going to roll with it and go sand it down because this gives me, I think 32 holes is what I counted. Um, it's too late for the old noodle to do the math, even though it's basic, math you would expect like a third grader to be able to do. I'm just not there with it tonight. So it's like 32 holes. I've got 30 holds. So essentially, I would have a hold in every spot with this. And then I'll have some extra because I think I've got like 50 backers coming. So, I mean, I'll have extra. You don't really get the opportunity to go like move them around as much as I was thinking initially. But you can go like pull some off, and have something like that where, instead of having them all the way down this thing, you could pull some off, which would add a level of challenge to it. So I don't know. This is a decision I would like my wife to make, who would tell me to just do whatever you think is best. So I'm probably just going to sand it. Well, welcome to the wood shop here. I'm more of a car guy than I am a wood guy. I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, if you catch my drift. Maybe some of you can relate to that. I was a carpenter, framer at one point when I was real young, and then got into metalworking. So most of the sanding I do nowadays is on cars. I don't really have the patience to sand on wood much. I can tell you if you're going to do this, you probably want like a palm sander, I don't know, maybe a belt sander or something, whatever works for you woodworking guys out there, which I am clearly not. So I've got the old palm and the sander. Yeah, I don't know, the sandpaper I have is what I have from the last car I think I did, which is I got a pack of 80 grit. I got some 220 grits. What else do I got here? So 80, 150, 220. I got 600 like wet sand stuff. I ain't gonna use any of that. So 220 will probably be it. What I'm kind of using as my reference here is the blue chalk line and pencil marks. If I can get those to be pretty much gone with the 80 grit, then I'll step it down from there. And the goal here is to make this smooth enough that if I'm being honest, I could lick it. That's how I know it'll be safe for my little girls to run their mitts all over this thing and not get any splinters. And I hope I pick them all up tonight instead of them. So, where I can't find my palm sander, my belt sander needs new paper, and I don't have paper, and all the shops are closed. So this is what I got. Yep. Why would it not? Why would it not? Listen here, little buddy. Don't do it again. Well, it's currently 1 in the morning. My lungs are full of sawdust. I gotta get up in a couple of hours to do some normal day stuff. Sanded everything down to 220 at least so far. I know it's time to go to bed because I was thinking about pre-drilling holes for how I'm gonna mount the thing. And I couldn't do basic layout and math of figuring out how far I want the screws in from the edges and overlap, and where the studs are gonna land, and where I mount them off the wall. And then I didn't even think I test fitted the bolts in here before, not thinking through that the backing nuts are a little bit wider diameter, which makes sense because the bolts go into them, so the bolt would be like the ID. The backing nut would be like the OD, and they tell you to drill it for 3/8, which the fasteners barely fit. The backing nuts don't. So looks like I'm either gonna have to upsize all these holes, or I'm gonna have to at least go waller around a little bit to be able to actually put the backing nuts in it. Which means I'm probably gonna chip some wood when the drill bit goes through around the top, which means I'm gonna end up doing more sanding. So we'll have another late night tomorrow. It's day 2 of the climbing wall Christmas build. Didn't really film anything of it tonight because it was a lot of the same. I started at 11 o'clock. It's now 1 in the morning. And I'm gonna shut her down because I gotta wake up in a couple hours. It was a lot of the same because basically I decided I was gonna go add some more holes. I'd done every 12 inches on grids. And what I did on this one is I went to the 6-inch height increment. So now there's holes on every 6-inch layer going up. And then I just staggered them in between. So it's not 6-inch grids. So you have like, 12, 12 diagonal in between, if that makes sense. Sanded it down, and then I drilled some pilot holes for the screws I'm going to use where it's going to mount into the studs. The wall I'm mounting into is 16-inch on center studs. So I went 3/8 of an inch in from each edge, made my ones there, and then at 16 and at 32, and then drilled holes down this thing to be able to go mount it when it gets up there a little easier, so I don't go splinter wood throwing some leg screws in it. And where I'm at right now is pounding these backing nuts in. The backing nuts are bigger. I drilled 1/2 inch, seemed to work. There may be a hair oversized, but they bite in just fine. I did screw a mount in earlier and it worked just fine. And that's what I'm working on right now. So as you can see, that's what I'm working on right now is I got a hammer, bag of these. You can see I pounded just a couple of these in, but pretty straightforward of, you set it in the hole and got the spikes on it and bites in. Yeah, 1/2 inch is pretty tight. I don't think I'd want to go any smaller. And then, whack them all in. I'm just going to shut it down because, like I said, it's 1 in the morning and I don't want to wake anybody up. So I'll find some time to sneak out here during the daylight and pound all these in. And then it should just be, end up having to resand everything because I re-drilled holes. And then I will flip this back over, screw a bunch of holes down, have my wife check it out, get a second opinion on the old touchy feel since I've got some calloused mitts, see what she thinks of it, and then mount it and climb. We'll try and finish this tomorrow night. It's now night number 3. Getting a little bit earlier of a start. It's like 10 o'clock tonight, which is kind of nice. I got last night all the holes drilled, pilot holes drilled, sanded, came out here during the day and hammered in all the backing nuts. So now really what's left to do is just start grabbing pieces and bolting them down. And like I said, we bought a 3-packs. They come in boxes of 10, so we got 30. And so essentially we're just gonna, kind of picking it at random, I guess. Trying to, if I find like a really good one though, like save it for somewhere. This one I recognized was in one of the other packages, and it seems like a good one for like the top row. Don't really know how many holes I have on here, if I'm being honest. Haven't really counted them. It does come with a decent Allen wrench, which is nice. Not like a T-handle or anything cool like that, but I got the 1.25" long fasteners I got from Amazon, a lock washer, and we'll thread these in. And then, like I said, there is a little hole to go take a wood screw that came with these and screw them into the plywood so that they don't spin. I will say, I don't know that they're needed. I mean, this feels very tight to where I would be shocked, and especially you're using a lock washer and stuff. I mean, remember, the kit doesn't come with one that's extra. That is pretty darn tight to where it ain't going nowhere. So we are going to grab all of these and just kind of start putting them, try to envision the climb and bolt some down, and we'll go from there. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is going to be the finished product. I learned a lot through this, I would definitely say. The boxes, I ordered 3 boxes. They come in a pack of 10. Clearly, they have 10 molds because it's 10 repetitive kits. So there's 3 of each hold on here. I just kind of winged it on leading them out and tried to avoid on stacking the same colors up as much as possible, as well as the same pieces right next to each other. There's a couple right there and right there that are obviously top and bottom of each other, but I think it'll be fine. Like I said, there's plenty of extra holes here. We can go move it around. I wanted to try to make it somewhat easy of like some bigger holds down here below and stuff that I thought would be really easy to like put a foot on at the base to get a really good foundation, and then plenty of good like footholds. And then, once you kind of start getting up, then some more good big ones as it kind of goes on. And really, since my oldest right now is only 3, I want it to be pretty easy in the beginning and get kind of hooked on it, and then have a tough middle section. And then if she can get to the top, be easy enough where she's comfortable and safe up there. And I don't have to just, helicopter parent over top of her to make sure she's not going to fall off of the thing. And then I figure as she gets better and more comfortable on it, I can go start removing some of these off of there to make it a little more challenging and making it to where there's bigger spaces. And then I set a lot of these up, obviously, in like ideal positioning where they are, widest ledge up, and, tried to land like fingerprints up on things and stuff like that, where we could go twist and clock stuff differently to make it a little more difficult to grab. So I think it'll work. I used 3/4 inch plywood. Came with 1.5 inch long bolts. Had to order 1.25 inch for doing that, since I didn't want the bolts to dig into the back of the sheetrock. And then I ordered extra of the backing nuts that are just 3/8/16 threads, and pounded them in just so that way I could go, move any of these holds around to any of the other spots. And then I drilled some pilot holes for my 16-inch on center studs for when I go to slap this thing up, so that way I'm not trying to hold the sheet up and lay it out and do everything like that. Because Santa's got to put this up on Christmas Eve in the middle of the night. Huge shout out to Everett and Avery Company, small business. They sent a little flyer in it, a little sticker. All that is very cool. So you can actually see over here, they've been added to the shop wall. So not a sponsored plug by any means whatsoever. My wife just found them on Amazon and read through all the reviews and saw they were a small business, and us doing that sort of thing, we wanted to reach out to, or not reach out to them, but go purchase through them. It's important to us. So great product. The holds look fantastic. Like I said before, these do come with a little like screw here that you can go put a wood screw in. I'll be honest, I didn't use them because I used 1.25 inch bolts and lock washers, and these things are, man, I cannot turn these things for the life of me if I wanted to. So I'm not worried about them spinning. The backing nuts on these have spikes on them, if you saw that, and they're facing the correct direction so that when you turn, they're digging into the wood more and just getting some bite on it. So I don't really foresee that being a major issue. So all in all, I think this is great. My overall plan for this is to go build an identical one at some point that would go right next to it, and basically turn like a whole hallway into a wall. I put 4 up at the top, which might seem like a waste, but my thought was for telling the 3-year-old, if, hey, as long as you touch one of those top ones, you did the thing. A lot of them come with like a bell or a buzzer you could go press, and I suppose you could always do something like that. And then my thought was, if you added sheets of this down the side, you could always teach them to start, side climbing down the thing as well, instead of just a up and down game. So I think all in all, this is a fun little quick, easy, simple build. If I knew the lessons learned that I have from this, I think I could have done a lot more, or done it a lot quicker, a little more efficient, I guess. Like I said, for my hole spacing, so it's a 4x8 sheet. So I went, every row going up is 6 inches. And then every hole this way is 12 inches, except for the edge holes are 6 inches, which puts you at a 12, a 12, a 12, and 6 here. So that way, if you butt another sheet up and follow that same spacing, you will always have that 12-inch side to side. Initially, I did just 12 on center and felt like it wasn't enough holes. So then I, offset where on the next row up here, I didn't do that 6-inch hole. I put it here. So I went 18 inches and then 12, 12, and then nothing. So that's the only row that'll be funky if you go add a sheet. Is I suppose you could put one at 6 inches and like flip the layout to where now from this one to the next one, you would have a longer spacing. So instead of going 6 inches on the bottom row for the next one, you would go 12 inches here. This one would get 6 inches, and then that would make it to where you have 12 inches between all of your holes this way. So that's how I chose to do my layout. Whatever rolls your tire, you can do it any way you want to. For us, though, it's been some late nights. Band's been out here in the shop with me every night. Appreciate that. So we're going to wait till Christmas Eve, have Santa go put this thing up. I don't know if I'll make any videos of that. Maybe I'll put in a little edit in the end of this for climbing, but I don't know if I want to post this before or after Christmas, so we'll see. Head on over to crestonpeak.net to check out our website. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Creston Peak. You can see the logo there. We've got a ton of hats, hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, beanies, stuff for kids. We got blogs on there. It's all about let's put down the screens and let's let kids just be kids and let's get stoked on some adventure. So here in the Pacific Northwest where it rains all the time, I'm very excited to add something to the arsenal of indoor play, where it's something other than sitting in front of a TV screen or anything like that, where we can go have some climbing competitions. I'm hoping I built this strong enough that it will be plenty enough to go hold myself and my wife on it, because I want to climb it too. I want to have fun with it. So get out and build your kids something cool.